Hi, class of 2027. I just wanted to give a brief introduction to myself as well as what you can expect in clinical. And also, this is because I cannot be there with you during the orientation on Thursday. So, if you do have any questions or concerns, do not hesitate to reach out to me ASAP through my email. So, in this brief introduction, I'll just talk a little bit about myself and my goals when working with you. I'll also show you a link to the calendar that covers basically all of your assignments and due dates for all of your classes in the fall of 2026. We'll talk briefly about clinical, that first week in particular, and what the expectations are. And then I'll talk generally about some resources that I've provided for you to prepare you for not only my classes, but just the entire semester in med-surg too. So, just some of my strengths. I've been a med-surg nurse for 10 plus years. I've worked for Arnett as well as Guthrie. I would say that flows into one of my other strengths as an instructor. I've been a clinical instructor for about 7 years now, mainly with Corning Community College, but I've also worked with Elmira College, and now presently I'm working with Binghamton University. So lots of different hospitals I've been in, and also I would say that I'm good with working with other clinical instructors. So that's why I am in a supervisory role with all of the clinical instructors on the sophomore level. And also, I have a strength in research. I am presently finishing up my dissertation with a PhD program. So if you have any questions or concerns about article analysis, any future research endeavors or interests that you have, please come reach out to me. So, some of the goals that I have when working with you is primarily to see that your confidence level is on track or developing. And that's going to come through just over time practice. I think practice makes progress, practice does not make perfect. The other thing is to step out outside of our comfort zones. So, if there is something that traditionally maybe you feel like you can't do, with the support of your clinical instructor or rather your lecturer instructor, you can do those things. But also, if you have questions about things you've never tried before and you would like to try them, reach out. Competence is also huge, but competence comes from learning how to learn. And you'll see me introduce a lot of different strategies in the didactic setting during lecture, which teach you basically how to learn on your own. It's essentially learning how to fish and as opposed to me giving you the fish. The other thing is I want to connect classroom knowledge with clinical practice. So you'll see me both in the didactic setting, which is in the lecture room in 110. I'll be bringing in situations that could happen in the clinical sector so that you can connect what you're learning in the clinical setting with the knowledge. So, for instance, when we're talking about kidney disease, um, what I would like you to do is have some exposure to hemodialysis so that you can get that connection when you go to the clinical setting. Um, Typically, we don't make strong and deep knowledge or we don't experience deep learning if we can't make connections, if we can't achieve some context for that learning. So that's what I'm looking for you. I don't want shallow learning. Okay. So, my availability and resources. I will be there every Tuesday, even when I'm not lecturing. So, I'll be there typically from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Unfortunately, you're in class from about 9 to 11 and then also 1 to 3. But I'll try to be available during that lunchtime if I'm not in a committee meeting, and then also after class is over at 3 p.m. As far as clinicals, what I'm going to suggest to you is if you're having concerns or something happens in the clinical setting, that you go to your clinical instructor first. But then if that's not resolved, that you come to me. So I'm your go-to for clinical. Any questions you may have more generally about clinical, like what's going to happen the first week, which we'll cover. Or when does clinical officially end? That sort of thing. When do we, if do we have off these certain weeks? And you do have off during October and also November break. Um, in addition, I am going to be a support for you on all of the content I cover with you, including the renal, the hematological, the GI, the neuro. And I'll also be a really strong contact for you for article analysis. In the past, I've helped students to identify a certain article that would be appropriate and peer reviewed. So please don't hesitate to contact me if you have questions about that. So I am going to show you this fall semester calendar, which I've done every year for the students. Even though I'm not the coordinator for MedSurg 2, I felt it very strongly, especially because this semester has so many different moving parts. And it's so important that you stay on top of your work, that you consult this calendar. So let's see. Oh, it's not going to let me click on it. Hold on a minute. I'm going to go to it a different way. So I'm hoping you can see this. Let me go to this. I just want to make sure you can see this. That's something else. Okay. So I'm hoping you can see this. So this basically has all of your assignments, all of the quizzes and exams, all of your DQs, even your breaks, has all of them for the entire semester. And so what I would advise you to do is look over this ahead of time. If you have to transpose this into a system that works for you, that's fine. But this covers all of for everything, for transitions to practice, for MedSurg 2, as well as maternal child. So there we go. Go back to our PowerPoint. Okay. So yeah, as I said, it includes all of even your clinical assignments, like your care plan, all of your clinical evaluations, your CPE, your last CPE. So it should be exhaustive and include everything. So your first week of clinical, I think I'm gonna have to go out for this because I want to show you this calendar. So I'm gonna have to show you this calendar. Here we go. So on this calendar, and you will have access to this. I'm going to put this on Brightspace for you. So it basically tells you when your group is meeting at the HEC. So for instance, Katie's group is meeting that Monday. That's even before you start your official MedSurg class. So you need to be aware of this. So Katie's group is meeting from 3 to, let's see, 3 o'clock to, you only have 3 hours there. So you're only meeting from 3 to 6. You have a shortened version. That's because you're sharing the space with Dawn's group. So Dawn's group is going to get there around 6 o'clock. And so your groups are an abbreviated time period, only 3 hours in the HEC. Kelly's group is going to be there on Tuesday. So you're going to those people that are there, you're going to have a really long day because you're going to be going right from class to your HEC time. And so during that time, you're going to meet with your clinical instructor. They're going to talk to you about what their expectations are. And then you're mainly going to focus on refreshing your skills, like your IV insertion, your primary, your secondary, your sub Qs, all of those. So you're going to have different stations. And I also think Emily and the Skills Sim crew, they're going to talk to you about the expectations around skills practice. So we'll continue on. Amy's group comes on Wednesday, Derek's group and Chris's group are on Saturday, and then my group and Jennifer group is on Sunday. So what you'll essentially see is that when you go to the HEC this week, it aligns with when you're actually in clinical. Okay. So we will go back to our PowerPoint. Okay. So also during that time, if you're If you have a full day clinical, then your day is going to be that full day, but it's going to be chopped in half. Half of it's going to be at the HEC, and then half of it's going to be at the hospital. My group on Sunday, we are going to have to do EHR training simply because ARNET requires that so that you can get your Epic access. If you're with Guthrie and you know how to do Epic, then it's not required that you do training before you get your Epic credentials. So it's a little bit different. So you're going to have to consult your instructor to find out what you're going to do with the other half of your day. With those groups that are on 2 days, like Dawn's group, and so that first day you're going to be at the HEC, and the second day you're going to be at the hospital. So you'll probably start your clinical a lot earlier than some other groups that are a full day, especially those that aren't it because we have to do Epic training. So if you do have to do Epic training like my ARNET people, you're probably going to do the Epic training, get your credentials, and then do a tour of the unit. Okay, some basic resources for you. First, I'm going to provide you with dosage calculation, dimensional analysis, as well as desired over have videos and resources. I know Lisa's going to cover that as well during her orientation on Thursday. The reason why we're pushing hard with that is because your first quiz is on med dosage calculations. So if you have any concerns, if you need additional support or additional examples, please reach out. You can also consult with a tutor, Sabrina, to get help on that as well. The other thing is there's a review of concepts, in particular, fluid and electrolytes and acid base. I'm going to expect you to know some of that foundational information before we do renal. So I will bring that up again with you. But just right now, that link does link to those concepts. And I'm also going to create that link for you in Brightspace so that you can go right to your resource folder and see the PowerPoints, the quizzes, all of that practice you can get on those concepts. Please know that you can email me if you have any questions or concerns.